Hi everyone, and I'm a bit frustrated right now. I have been trying to find a picture of not just a freezer of chicken at a grocery store, but a very specific freezer at a grocery store that I went to 10 years ago. And I realized that was kind of a fool's errand after wasting 15 minutes looking for it. Anyway, I cover comics on my main channel. I'm sure everyone, well, maybe not. Maybe people literally just are trying to have sound financial decisions in their life and they Google this phrase, but this is an in-joke to my other channel, which covers comics. And I saw a comic pro express that they were having some problems with their budget and that there was a shortfall. And I basically haven't stopped thinking about that for 24 hours. Obviously, I've done other things, watering the lawn right now, but it just keeps recurring to my mind, this concept of a budget shortfall. Because I've been poor. I've been very, very poor. And I've been very, very poor during a recession that was almost a great recession. I got out of the Army, a while ago, like 10 plus years ago. And the economy was trash. And it stayed that way for 3 years. Now, you might say 3 years doesn't seem that bad. It was a long 3 years. It was basically poor was like my entire identity. Like then it was your whole life was just being poor. Now, oddly enough, so many other people were poor that you didn't feel that bad about being broke because lots of people were broke because it was a very bad recession. But and I told a bit of this story in another video. Having been in the Army and stationed in Germany and living out in town in a flat, it's village life in Europe. So you don't go to a giant grocery store. You just have the little, this is the baker, this is the butcher, this is the, you get tools here. So I got used to buying food like every single day. So I got into this weird habit of going to the grocery store every day just to buy whatever I was eating for that day. And, I got out, had a little bit of savings, was kind of doing okay. And then about, 6 months in, you go, oh, this is, I can't find any good jobs. And the economy's really bad. And I find these little, and things were just bad. So then you realize you're like, oh, I got to adjust. But like, you can't even adjust your rent because I just signed, a lease, for like 2 years. So it's like, I have to have a car. I can't, like, what do I do? So what I did was I found a way to save a lot of money with food. Now, it's going to be the most obvious thing, cook for yourself. But there's more to that because there was this row. It was, I can see this so well in my mind. So you know how you have the freezers along the wall or they're on like rows? Well, this was like in the middle. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's kind of waist height. And they put a bunch of them next to each other. This is the HEB and the Arboretum, circa 10 years ago. And it was long. It was like 60 plus feet of chicken. At one side was the most expensive, the best quality chicken. And at the far right, well, I guess it's relative what direction you were going to. You go farther to one side, and it's very, very bad. Now, I started out with like the okay chicken, and then as my fortunes dwindled, literally, I kept moving farther and farther to the right. Whenever I'd face it, it would be right there. It's a completely arbitrary. It's like saying up in space. Where's this planet located? Up, But I kept moving over, and this phrase went into my head. There's always a cheaper brand of chicken. So as things got worse for me, and as the recession stretched, and as it got, I don't know if hopeless, but it wasn't good. It was bad. I mean, thank God for parks and water fountains at bookstores, internet at bookstores. That got me through the 2010 to 2012. And then the recovery started to recover. The economy started to recover around there. But the concept that there's always a cheaper brand of chicken, it's more than just the literalness of that, is that there's almost always a way to do something at a pretty much similar, I gotta tell you, for the cheaper chicken, you put the right seasonings on, you do not notice the difference, like barely at all. And so it just kind of, like, I've been obsessed with this concept, is that there's always a cheaper brand of chicken. And it was like 3 years of steadily moving down, the chicken freezer, the poultry section freezer. I never got to the end. I never got to, like, supposedly the worst chicken imaginable. But I got pretty far down there, and it was still good. It was still fine. So when, things are bad, there's things that you're doing. Obviously, you don't want to go out to eat, and there's been a million articles about how much that Starbucks is costing you, your morning. But there's things that you like, that there are cheaper, easier versions. Now, obviously, the other one is I just started cooking for myself a lot. And the weird thing is, this is funny, I got, like, legitimately good at cooking. Like, I would have friends, family over, and, I would give them, whatever I made, omelets or spaghetti or fried chicken or whatever. It was real basic staples food, but I had never been good at cooking before. And I got, like, legit good, like, better than the restaurants I go. So, like, once every other month I would have some money to go to a restaurant, and inevitably I'd be like, I cook better than this. Like, I make a better cheeseburger than this. I didn't used to. Necessity is the mother of invention, but it's also, makes you a better cook. So even while buying cheaper materials, the necessity of basically, I couldn't afford to go out to eat, I became a really, like I literally have friends and family like, remember how you used to make omelets? I'm like, I know, I remember it. Here's the deal. Once I got some money, it's just Grubhub all the time. Grubhub, delivery, restaurants. I don't cook. A few times I've tried, and I was so bad, I almost made myself vomit. I tried to make myself an omelet. It was some sort of soup. I tried 2 or 3 times. I was terrible because there was no longer a necessity for me to become better. I didn't have to move and get the cheaper chicken. I could get the best chicken. I could just order the best chicken. And then when I did cook, there was no emergency. If I completely failed, it wasn't any big deal just to throw it all in the trash and just order what I really wanted. But the thing I'm trying to say is the phrase budget shortfall is completely arbitrary. You need things, you need food, you need a place to stay. In some parts of the country, you absolutely do need a car. In others, it's not necessary. You need some sort of transportation. But there's cheaper ways to do almost everything you need. One exception that I always did, that I think kept me out of a lot of trouble, is I never went cheap on where I stayed. I mean, even if literally it was just a mattress on the floor, I was always in a nice neighborhood with a nice apartment, because I told myself, you know what, and especially like in Texas, like 10 years ago, the difference between a bad neighborhood and a nice neighborhood, apartment nice, $200 a month. For an extra $200 a month, I can live in a place where my car's not going to get broken into, where my house, apartment's not going to get broken into. Like, it's going to be safe, it's going to be secure. I'm not going to lose things, and I'm not going to have that tension of, just being robbed all the time. I would have friends who would cheap out on their where they live, and they were always having problems. I remember one guy, he got, you don't really see this a lot, the huge entertainment system, that giant cabinet where you have your giant TV, and then you have your VCR and DVD, you got your stereos, and it's all in like one giant thing. I went over to my buddy's house, and it was in the middle of the day, and it was really, really dark in there. I was trying to find something, so I was like, I turned on a couple lights, it was still dark. So I opened, they had these really large windows that faced like the courtyard of the apartment. And this guy, he cheaped out on where he lived. He would get lots of electronics, but he cheaped out on where he lived. I opened it all up so I could get some good light in there. And my buddy came out of like the back room, and he saw what I'd done, and he just froze. Like, all the blood left his face, and he like sprinted. I think he literally jumped over something like an ottoman or something like that. And he shoved it. He goes, what have you done? What did you do? I was like, I opened the drapes. He goes, oh, we are 100% getting robbed. He's like, look in the courtyard. You see all those people? We work night shift, but it was like the middle of the day, the work day for most people. It was a weekday. He goes, you see all those people? They don't do anything. They just sit on their porch and smoke and chit chat and just look at things and gossip. they all saw everything I got. He's like, I brought this stuff in the middle of the night with a blanket over it. And now they all know I got the best electronics. 100%, I'm going to be robbed within a week. And I always remember that. So I never got, I mean, technically when I was poor, I didn't have anything to be robbed of. But, you know, it's even if you're kind of broke, it's nice to, you know, pull into that nice neighborhood, pull into that nice apartment complex. You know, you got the nice neighbors, you got the nice pool, you got the nice laundry center if you need that, you got the nice gym. I always had an apartment that had a nice gym, so I didn't even have to get a gym membership. You know, saves you 30, 40, 50 bucks right there. So when someone says like, oh, I have a budget shortfall, I was just like, that doesn't mean anything. That's like saying up in space. You know, you need things. You need certain specific things. So go find cheaper versions of that. Go find free versions of that. And often it's going to be even better, you know? I know that sounds kind of Pollyanna-ish, but man, I was a good cook when Obama was president. Man, there needs to be a chain of restaurants where they just cook as good as I did when I couldn't afford to go out to eat, because that was scrumptious. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll have more. There's no daily content. Whenever I have a topic, I'll talk about that. Bye.